Welcome back. It's 9:15. Eskom is welcoming back two embattled senior executives. The Power Utilities disciplinary process has cleared Prish Govender and Matsela Koko of any wrongdoing. Govender will be reinstated as Eskom's head of Group Capital, while Koko will resume his duties as head of generation at the Power Utility. For more on this, I'm joined by Eskom spokesperson Khulu Phasiwe. Good morning, Khulu. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Perhaps let's just start with a reminder of the charges that were brought against them and what the disciplinary process found.
The disciplinary hearing around Mr. Koko was in relation to the issues of the ethics, especially of him not declaring that his daughter was doing business with Eskom. So after the investigation, which was, I have to say, very transparent, because I know ENCA and other media houses were reporting or covering that disciplinary hearing live, and also fair in a sense that Mr. Koko was also given a fair hearing as well. So after that hearing had been completed, the chairperson of that hearing then gave a report to the board of Eskom on the 15th of December, and now that the board has read through the document, also informed the minister, they felt that it's now time that they should make this information public to say that Mr. Koko will be reinstated. Mr. Govender, Prish Govender, the disciplinary investigation against him really was in relation to the issues around McKinsey. So the investigation has found that there was nothing untoward that he had done on his part. But if there's anything that anyone, maybe, of course I've heard that there are some political parties and other individuals who are aggrieved about the whole process. If they do have other information that the board may not have had at the time, they can bring it forward. I'm sure the board will do whatever they can. But also importantly, it has to be remembered that there's also a parliamentary inquiry, right. Obviously has now taken a pause because of the holiday season, but in due course they will start again. And Mr. Koko, as far as I know, is also one of the people who will be appearing before that committee.
I just want to go back on Mr. Koko's charges, the one also including the fact that, well, we don't know if it is a fact, but that a contract was awarded to his stepdaughter. The disciplinary process found that he was cleared of this charge as well? 100%,
yes. So essentially the issues were that he did not declare. And his contention was that he did declare, and he gave evidence during the disciplinary hearing about how he declared, and the information was passed on, I think, to Mr. Molefe at the time as the CEO, and also to the chairman. That information was brought forward, and the adjudicators of the hearings were, I would say, generally okay with how this matter was presented to them, and that's why they decided to clear him.
You mentioned the parliamentary inquiry that has paused and will resume soon. Was it not then premature for Eskom to reappoint these two executives before that process is wrapped up?
These are two different processes. They were running in parallel. So the internal process was basically just to get to the bottom of the issues, especially in relation to whether Mr. Koko had declared or not. They have found that he has declared. The issues around the parliamentary inquiry, they are not about Mr. Koko necessarily. It's about the issues around corporate governance within Eskom. So there were two different but also in some ways related. So the parliamentary hearing, once it's completed, they will come to their own findings and recommendations, which will be, I'll say, separate from what the disciplinary hearing is about.
And what of the CFO, Mr. Anuj Singh?
Mr. Singh will also be appearing before the parliamentary inquiry at some point. I know he did appear, although he had given the committee not enough time, and his matter has been sort of pushed back. We will know in due course from Parliament as to when they would like him to go back there. But internally within Eskom, they also are doing their own investigations, that is the board, to get to the bottom of the issues that he's facing. So just like Mr. Koko and Mr. Prish Govender and other individuals, these are separate processes. If these individuals are required to go to Parliament, they will go there as well.
What is staff morale like within Eskom, especially with everything that is happening at top level?
Generally, the staff morale, I would say it's low, to be honest with you, because although many of us are professionals. We are focusing on our day-to-day duties, but we are not oblivious of the things that are surrounding the company. So clearly it's having a dampening effect on staff morale, but many of us are resilient. We continue to focusing on what we are supposed to be doing, but it is incumbent upon the board and especially the management as well to make sure that they restore the company's reputation.
And when do the two executives who've now been reinstated resume their duties? Immediately?
Yes, in terms of the communication that was sent through to them and to the management of the company, they are coming back with immediate effect. Although Mr. Prish Govender is already back at work, Mr. Koko will be coming back on Monday.
Thank you so much for coming in to give us those details. Khulu Phasiwe speaks for Eskom, and listening in on that conversation is Natasha Mazzoni of the DA. Natasha, thank you so much for joining us. Your reaction as you've just heard what Khulu's had to say.
Well, my reaction is, firstly, this wasn't a statement that was made publicly by Eskom. This was a statement that was made by Sean Maritz to executives within the Eskom board and was leaked to media yesterday. Otherwise, the South African public would certainly not know that these two executives had been reappointed. And according to the internal memorandum effective yesterday, I think that it's fair to say that Mr. Mashele Koko's disciplinary hearing was nothing short of a scam. It was a complete joke and something that played out on TV like a really bad soap opera, and very, very disappointing to see a company the size of Eskom allow such a disciplinary hearing to take place. In actual fact, it was so disgraceful, and Eskom treated the country with such disdain, and I may add, gave the country such a slap in the face by allowing a disciplinary hearing like this to be conducted, that I was left with no choice but to actually lay criminal charges against Mr. Mashele Koko on the 18th of December in terms of possible breaches of the PFMA, because this is now what it's come to. The board of Eskom is highly compromised, and the inquiry, it's not a hearing, it's an inquiry that Parliament is undertaking at the moment, has shown this board to be completely compromised. And I think it's absolutely unacceptable and unfair for Eskom to expect any South African to think that the executive can hold themselves to account, each other to account. And I quite agree that staff morale at Eskom is really low. And it's because the problem doesn't lie with the employees of Eskom. The problem lies with the executives of Eskom. And until we get the executives right, the staff are the ones that suffer the most.
100%. If you can just hold on for a second for me, Natasha, as I go back to Khulu and perhaps ask you this question, Khulu. Natasha mentions that there was no statement released on this, and perhaps this smacks of maybe you guys were trying to hide this. Is this the case at all?
Well, there's no reason why we should hide anything. You'll remember that yesterday was the first day where many people came back from the holidays. So what Mr. Maris did was to share with the executives before a media statement would have been issued out. So he was just as a courtesy informing them about his discussions with the board and the decision about the reinstatement of the two individuals. At some point, I'm sure they were going to issue a statement. So because the whole process was out in the public anyway, so there's no reason why we should be keeping this thing a secret.
Natasha, let me come back to you. You mentioned in the beginning that this whole process was a scam on the part of Eskom, but as Khulu mentioned a little bit earlier on, internal processes took their course. Are you saying that perhaps we should be skeptical?
I think we should be highly skeptical. We saw a member of the board being allowed to choose his own judge and jury, which is unacceptable in any organization. We saw attorneys behaving in the most appalling fashion. One attorney attacking a journalist, a member of the journalist panel that was there. The whole disciplinary hearing, highly controversial in its setup, in its execution, in the way things were decided. And I'm afraid I have to disagree strongly with the spokesperson of Eskom. What Eskom and certainly what the spokesperson needs to remember at all times is that Eskom belongs to South Africa. It is a state-owned entity. And when a decision of the importance of the reinstatement of the CEO of Group Capital and the CEO of Generation is made, the very first people that must be made known are the South African public. So before anything should have leaked to the media, the South African public should have known about this. Just like many things that happen at Eskom, they're shrouded in controversy and secrecy, and this is what causes a massive distrust between the South African public and the board of Eskom.
Kulu, how do you respond to that? I mean, staff morale, as you pointed out, within Eskom is low, and Natasha's pointing out that perhaps South Africans should have been taken into your confidence. How do you respond to what she's saying?
Well, in most organizations, and I'm sure including the DA, the top management would have to know about whatever decisions are taken at the top before you can relay them to the general population. So it would be, I would say, counterproductive for management to go out in the public and for some of them to only get to know about a decision that has been taken by the board through the media. It's not how the system works. So it was a courtesy call from Mr. Shaun Marais' side to inform management before this information could be relayed out to the public.
Natasha, where to from here following these news?
Well, just not to flog a dead horse, but Mr. Marissa's SMS went out at 10:47 yesterday morning. Eskom had the whole day to inform the South African public about what was going on. So, unfortunately, not a good enough excuse there. Where to from now? I think, thank goodness, the Eskom inquiry continues, because it seems to be the only way we are going to get to the bottom of very, very serious managerial issues and corporate governance problems that are at Eskom. And I'm now looking very forward to this committee restarting so that we can make sure that we get to the bottom of these issues and that South Africa is kept fully in the loop as to what's going on in corporate governance at Eskom.
DMP Natasha Mazoni, thank you very much for that reaction, and a big thank you to you, Kulu Phasiwe, for joining us here in studio.